Hey, hey, how's it going? Wow, I didn't straighten myself out at all first. Oh well. So, well, today's been an interesting day. I had gotten an inspiration, right? And I was watching something, and they started. It was, I don't know that it was a religious show. It's just like something about that came into the plot, and they were talking about confession, and all of a sudden, all this information started coming in. It was like, oh, I don't know if I want to discuss that, but so I actually don't think it's a bad thing at all. It's not a condemnation or anything like that. I think it's just I saw some things. We've all seen the things too, by the way, if I ever get to it. So I started thinking about, maybe I should explain. I was raised Catholic, and from generations worth of Catholics in the family, and everybody in the family is a Catholic, and everybody they married is a Catholic. So it's like this whole bubble. And there's rules of behavior and just sort of, I don't know, stuff that I don't think is written down in any book anywhere, but at least for my particular group, it seems to be there's all these things that everyone's agreed on, that it's that's the way it is. That's the way things go. Oh, wait, did I do the sign thing? So, hi, here, there's some signs of mine. Isn't that just so interesting? Okay. So, what's happening? Why is that so in the picture? It wasn't before, was it? Good grief, get out of here. I don't want that there. Oh, God. Okay, I can handle that. So, confession has a certain meaning, right? And when you're a Catholic, they make you one from a very early age, and they don't ask you, hey, do you want to be a Catholic? Do you want to be plugged into this whole thing? I come from also the era, because I'm old, of speak when you're spoken to. And then I would always get in trouble because I couldn't do it. I always had to say something. Anyway, I'm just saying, I feel like there were a lot of rules, unnecessary sometimes, but also beyond the scope of what I'm talking about. Confession. So when you're very young, and then they, I went to Catholic school for several years, and there's all these little church-going procedures that you have to learn. And one of them is the going to confession, and where it's these three little, almost like a photo booth, but with a regular door, with a doorknob. And then you open the door and go in, and it's just this little room, like a little closet with a chair in it. And there's a little window. And on TV, I've seen ones where you can see through the glass. I don't know if that's how it really was, or if for TV they took the glass out. But every church I've ever been in, along the West Coast and in Texas, where there was a confessional, the middle booth is where the priest sits, and then there's a parishioner on either side of the priest. Everybody has their own little booth. So you're in the booth and you sit there, and then there's the glass, and the glass kind of, I think there's a little dim light in there with you, but the way I remember it is more light seems to come through from the central booth through the window. And the window, by the way, is opaque. You can't see anything but the suggestion of another human body over there. on the other side, and you know it's going to be a man because they haven't let the women in still yet to be a priest, although I don't know why you would want to pursue that, but that's just me. So you get in the booth and you have to say this whole little speech they teach you. I'm not going to do it, but you ask for a blessing from the father, which is what you call the priest, and to absolve you from your sins. And then you got to sit there and list the sins. So when you're little, you're like, what did I do? You don't know. You certainly have no conception of intellectual sin for a while. Like, for a while, I was under the impression, this is going to sound weird, but I'll explain. I was under the impression that my thoughts were my own. Like, no one could hear anything, and I could just think away. And, like, even as a little kid, you have things like, I couldn't do this. This person wouldn't let me do it, or this person was mean to me. But it's an adult, so you can't say anything, like, ever, you know. And at least when I grew up, I was thinking about this earlier. I've met a lot of kids that are like the offspring of my cousins or just people my age, or not even people I know, just complete stranger kids. Just talk to you as if they're a little adult, like, and I don't mean like their intelligence and they give you that impression. I mean they walk up and start talking to you and saying stuff to you. It was more like what a kid would say, like something that you just don't say to people, like about their appearance, and just be really personal and aggressive, kind of, and like trying to be all up in your face, and you're talking to a child. And that pisses me off, because then people get mad at me when I answer them back the way they're talking to me. You know, I'll just cut them off, cut them down right there. Like, I don't let people talk to me that way. It's certainly not a child. I don't care how they were raised. Though I was not raised to where a child can just talk to you all kind of rude like an adult. It's not right for an adult to do it. It's just, you understand, it's particularly appalling coming from a child. And so then people get mad at me, and it's like, get mad at me all you want. If your child comes over to me and starts talking to me the way you let them behave, the way you taught them to behave, consequences, bro. Like, don't send your brat over with a big old mouthful of stuff they shouldn't be saying to an adult. You know, like, it's not that's on you. So, where was I? Anyway, I got all mad at that. I don't even know why now. But I guess it's it was a comparison between what was tolerated when I was a child and what goes on now. And I feel like there can be a medium, certainly. I mean, I could talk to adults. I could even engage an adult, like, so where they were really interested in not doing that. Good job. Like, they're actually having a conversation with me. That's different from walking up and saying something about a body part on an adult. You know, like some little boy walking up and talking to you like this, like, boy, I'm about to snap your neck. You better get away from me with that. Like, yeah, just, I'm not going to repeat it, but yeah, it's just not right, in my opinion. So anyway, that should give you like kind of a clue as to the kind of world that I grew up in, where like certain things are tolerated and certainly not other things. I think in this instance, though, I have a point. I mean, disrespect is disrespect. So anyway, you're in the booth and you say the part that you're supposed to say, and you know, I probably stopped going, boy, I feel like I was in my late teens the last time I went to confession. And by that point, and I did understand the intellectual thought as being like what the church considers a sin. However, I don't believe that like, I think sin, it was like dreamed up as like a guilt trap, like a control mechanism, because people are gonna think and do things, and you can't just be controlling everybody. I don't think. Like, I think once you reach a certain age, like, you are on your own. You in the world, you're on your own. You have guidance, you have like some direction. I will credit them for like educating me well, and not all of the concepts that came out of that learning experience were bad, but as an organization, I think the church, well, I know the church is kind of shady, has been shady for a long time, and it's run very much like a business in a lot of ways. Sometimes, I mean, I can't make a blanket statement about it. I'm not talking about the people that sort of work for and in the church. They're not all, handsy with the kids or anybody. They're not supposed to be. They're supposed to be celibate. So handsy is a euphemism for, I don't want to talk to you like your children. But I guess I'm just going to be careful because everyone else is being so censorship sensory. So, well, here's the thing. Here's the inspiration. I just wanted to lay a little groundwork. So, I thought, like, what if this is not really how it's supposed to be with the church and everything? Like, going to, like, lay out your sins, and then, so what else happens is, once you tell the sins, and then you get a penance, which is a certain number of prayers per sin that you have to go do, and then I guess that fixes everything. I'm sorry, but it just sounds silly. Because alternatively, what if that used to be a place where, and I'm talking about something that would have been built from a time where the institution of a church just didn't exist. I feel like once upon a time, it may have been something like this, and the confessional booth just got perverted into this whole other control mechanism thing. Maybe it was a place where, like, everybody in the local area gathered to sing and talk and have fellowship and whatever, like, whatever you would do in a church, except not with, like, one guy presiding and everyone else sort of like master and, slaves as I don't know, like slaves, I'll just go with it. But it's like that, I feel like it's that kind of dynamic in the church, like the priest is this authority and everybody else is, look, you're in there, you're kneeling, you're standing, you're sitting, they got you going through all these calisthenics, singing and praying, but it's like regimented. And I think there was a situation where there wasn't like theaters, live action and movie that we have now. There weren't concert venues necessarily. Well, actually, I'll get to it. Not like we have, like Madison Square Garden or Staples Center, or I don't even know. They probably changed the name of that like 40 times since it was Staples Center now. There's some here where I am, but I don't even know because I don't live in the city and I'm not a sports person, so I don't really know. But say, like, after the day of work and everyone's eaten, and like if you have some energy left in you, like maybe you would like to spend some time socializing, and so maybe everybody gathered in some central place, and there's usually someone in a crowd of people that kind of is like the MC for everyone else and holds order. Excuse me. And like a master of ceremonies. And so what I just imagined that people kind of got together and talked about their day and communed with one another and shared knowledge, that kind of thing. And I could see how like a church structure might have grown out of that. And as for the confessional, well, say there's like that master of ceremonies person, that's just sort of like an elder, in a way, that just the one that knows the spiritual knowledge and is best at like working things out with people. Or if people are upset, well, look at that mess back there. If people are upset about whatever, they like counsel them. And I think the difference would have been that in those days, I'm thinking of like the Essenes, what I learned from, I feel like I got a little more textured information about them in a couple of cases from listening to Diane Cannon hypnotic regressions, because I found one that was talking to a man from that time, and then so Cannon drew forth this person, and this is after going back generations, like even back before the person being regressed had been born, in like the present time then. So back they regressed, and they end up in like Jerusalem, right? Or I guess Jerusalem. Or wait, what was the country then? I don't even know. Well, the area of Jerusalem, I'll just say, I think is where the Essenes were, and maybe Palestine. I don't have like my world map brain on that area very well. Like, I don't really have a picture of it in my mind. I feel like neither place is very big. I know Palestine is long like California, because now I see it on the news all the time, and then Israel's next to it. But I know neither of them are very big. I don't know what that has to do with it, but I guess it made travel. It made it, like hearing about it in the Bible, it sounded like it was thousands and thousands of miles between the places they were talking about. But when you see it now, it's like, oh, everything wasn't really that far apart. But on foot or horseback or however they were doing it, it would have taken longer than it takes us now. Like even a bicycle would go faster. Sidetracked. So the confessional, I feel like more it would be a person with like healing skills and some sort of like mental thing, like psychic healing, psychic ability, some sort of empathetic thing. I don't know all of the ways it could manifest, but I'm just saying some people have like more abilities and are looked up to, and they have knowledge about certain things. Like if you have something wrong, this is the person you go to say, hey, I have this wrong, what do I do? And so maybe you don't want to be talking about that in front of everybody else, and you need some privacy. So maybe there's a place where you go and you sit and you talk with the person, and you exchange information, and they give you counsel, and which would be the equivalent of the penance, except you don't walk in like, okay, whatever I did, it was a sin, so let me figure out which thing was the sin, right? And even as adults, I think we think our thoughts are not our own, and so we think our thoughts are our own, so we try to like fake people out. And even a priest, like present day, could probably tell when someone's like embroidering or hedging on some subject to make themselves come out better in the telling. I'm sure that they've developed a sense, like they do move the opaque window aside so that you do get to see sometimes a completely clear view, sometimes a little less hard to see, like thing in between. I don't know what that's all about, but you exchange information, and then, like I said, you tell the sins, and then the priest says, you pay this many sins for this many prayers for that many sins, and it's very, doesn't it sound like a dang transaction? And that's why I think it's always felt like so off to me, because there's always, and I didn't understand this, but there's always this underlying business association type deal. So I mean, I think it could have been something like that. It may have been like a woman for women problems, like in health problems, and so I started to talk about like thoughts that could be considered a sin. And obviously, like, if you could be sitting in there going, I hate this particular priest for whatever reason, and then be all, yeah, Father, everything's yip nips good. I can't even think of the goofy term that I'm trying to say. Nipsy Doodle is not it. Yankee Doodle is not it. But yeah, everything is just great, fine, but you don't really mean it. Or just any kind of situation like that, where you're like constantly dealing with a boss or a mother-in-law or your wife or your kid, where you're just constantly, oh God, I can't wait to get away from this person. I hate this person. It happens, right? And how many of us have it together enough? Like, we have it together enough as a parent and even as a in-law to kind of like just hold it back and don't give the full force of what you're feeling. But sometimes it comes through anyway. Sometimes you just can't help being sarcastic or whatever, or you're a child and you're just not so good at being deceptive. But if it's your job to sit there and listen to people all day, I would think that you develop a sort of an ability to sense when people are bullshitting you. And I imagine many of confessions are that way. But when I was talking about your thoughts being your own, in the other situation with like the Essenes, they were much more able to employ their senses to aid them in situations. Like if you were somewhere and somebody was perhaps trying to lead you somewhere, like at like a busy place, and someone wanted to lead you off somewhere where there were less people to see you get like jumped and your stuff taken, robbed, or some sort of vendetta between families, like this one looked at that one's daughter and they didn't marry him and they didn't give him a bunch of goats. So there's bad enough feeling that like maybe in the father's mind they gave the daughter, the uninterested suitor gave the daughter a bad look, like made her have an appearance that was not as upstanding or good as perhaps the father would thought. Like I could see how, I'm just kind of making it up, I guess, but some sort of offense. Can you please wait a few minutes? He always does this now. He waits till I'm doing this to start yelling. So, okay, that was... I'm just trying to show, like the difference between the two and, like, how similar they could also be. So, I did pull some cards. I told someone about this inspiration and they did not like it, because I also said that the reason why I think it would have become different and more business-like in its behavior, because it is that way now. There's a lot of transactional behavior with the church, and I think there always has been. There's always been like stories of gold and treasure, and they have it hidden away, and the Templars collected a lot of stuff, and they were relieved of a lot of it when the church turned on them, and then they took it back, some of it, and some of it was hidden so it wasn't found. There's like all this intrigue and it involves money, basically. So I had said to this person that I think the church is kind of shady that way, that they would do something like that, like change something good into this other thing where it's a tool for manipulation, which religion as we know it today, but the further back you go, the closer to in antiquity, you'll know that there were all these sects, different sects, just like there are now. And so there were differences. Sometimes I think they got violent. Now today it's a little different landscape. It's a cyber war. It's a really it's a really cold. It's a circuit war, but there's still competition. There's still money involved, and it's like in a lot of cases, the money has become more important than the practice of religion or God. And God is supposed to be the main important thing that we're thinking about and worrying about, not watches and rings and jets and designer label suits and haranguing your congregation to donate so that you can have these luxury items. And how does that help them, though? How does that help your congregation if you're pimped up and flying around in an atmosphere destroying, exhaust spewing pig rocket? So, okay. The cards I pulled here, I'll just go through them. So, this is from the Gemstone Whispers deck, and it's Lepidolite, and the subtitle is Clemency. This looks like myrrh. Anyway, Clemency. Always forgive your enemies. Anything annoys them. Nothing annoys them so much. Well, I when I pulled these earlier, I had some sort of association with it that worked with my subject, but now it's making me think of I'm not going to talk about that, but okay, so forgive your enemies, clemency. That is sort of a, is it a commandment? I can't remember. I know it's something that the church very much endorses, is forgiveness, and as did Jesus, because everything is forgivable. The thing that we do have to keep in mind here is that this that we're living in now, in this moment, is not real. Which is, feels real, sounds real, everything. Oh my God, let me go let this cat out. No, you know what? He can just wait. So, I guess, it's a good sentiment to have, though, forgive your enemies, nothing annoys them so much. Well, if you can, if you get a little thrill out of annoying your enemy, good for you, I guess. If you're gonna forgive them, why you gotta needle them after like that? I don't know if that makes sense, but forgive them and just no strings, just forgive. And just remember, like, whatever happened, whatever bad feelings were engendered, it's in the script. It's like, it's gonna happen because it's predetermined. Everybody already agreed on this. And so I feel like that kind of is like a valve on a pressure cooker when you know that, so yeah, that. Okay, and then the next card I pulled was Black Orlov Diamond, and the subtitle is Misfortune. When the soul suffers too much, it develops a taste for misfortune. I can't help but think of, this is so not to do with confession and that, but it just makes me go immediately to the election that we just had, because I don't necessarily agree with it because I think it's misunderstood, but you'll hear from like the Democrats or the left very often that people on the right are voting against their best interest. Well, it's the fact that they keep doing what is perceived to be that tells me that maybe we're wrong if we think that. Like, maybe we're not perceiving what's really happening. Because they are different. They vote different. They feel different about different things. So why should the people on the left expect them to have the same thought process? They might be getting something out of their choices that we just don't know or understand. And that's fine. And we need to shut up about it. Like, let them have their choices. And that's kind of hard when it's something like an election. Because, like, especially this last one, we all got dragged into more garbage that we all did. A lot of us feel like we got dragged into more garbage that we didn't want. Like, I know I didn't want to repeat. And so you have to wait. This is one of those times where you have to extend clemency. Clemency is a particular thing, though. In fact, let me just look that up. I don't want to be vague about it. I mean, look at nice and kind. That turned out to be two very different things when I looked them up. So I know clemency. Okay, so pardon. I beg your pardon. That's sort of an apology. A pardon is a government decision to allow a person to be relieved of some or all of legal consequences resulting from a criminal conviction. A pardon may be granted before or after conviction of the crime, depending on the laws of the jurisdiction. Well, there you go. So, it's a synonym, I guess. Clemency and pardon. That's not really an apology. That's like kind of, you're excused. Well, I mean, it says forgive them, so, yeah, I guess it kind of works as an apology as well. And I think we can stop blaming those people for their choices. We got dragged in. We didn't present better options on the other side, so I mean, I feel like we can't really rag on them. And then also, it occurs to me right now for the first time, how do they feel when, like, their side doesn't win? Well, we already know that they acted a fool. Oh my God. I mean, the first time Trump won and people were crying and upset, they just, like, tore us a new hole all up and down about it. Like, just ragged on us for feeling bad. And then, but that's all we did. Like, I don't remember anybody going out on any sabotage or attack missions. Like, his people went nutso when they didn't win and, like, started attacking other people. And that, come on, man. Let's not, okay? So, misfortune. When the soul suffers too much, it develops a taste for misfortune. In this case, I think we all got served up a plate of misfortune. Man, I swear to God, you better wait a minute. Because just because of what I just said doesn't mean, like, the side that voted for Trump, the people that decide to vote for Trump last time, doesn't mean that they didn't go through hardship. There's a lot of farmers that are not around today because of the decision making of Mr. Businessman, which businesses are not interchangeable. I don't know if you know this, but one business that's different from another could run in completely other ways and have completely other problems and fixes than the other. Like, some things won't even apply both ways. It's like crazy. Like, anyway, so now this time around when he's reelected, a little late, kind of like what happened with Brexit. I know I say this every time, but that's what I'm always reminded of. Those people also made the same error and listened to someone that told them they were going to fix stuff for them and everything was going to be great without a whole lot of explanation, or the explanations, even at the time, people were like, what? No, that ain't going to work. That Brexit thing, ooh, that crashed and burned. And then the guy that was out there with his mouth open that didn't get elected went running off. But now he's back, mouth open again, saying stuff that, well, all I can say is the people that listens to him and to Trump, some of them have realized it here, like, oh man, maybe we should not have voted for this guy, because now it looks like what they were saying is actually true. It's like, yeah, we're not lying. That's why everyone was so desperately saying, don't vote for this guy. Look at this and that. It's bad. Although, I don't know. A lot of people are like, oh, they were like Nazi, weird, like whatever, fascist. Yes, why not say that? Don't like paste over it like it's not there. It's there, because he's already turned on his word. He's not even inaugurated yet, and that's where the second thoughts are coming in. So. Now I think they're in the place where this makes sense, because they developed a taste for Trump, but now it's giving them heartburn. They're starting to realize that maybe that wasn't the best choice. Okay, so, well, when they start saying, oh man, it wasn't the best choice, that's a form of confession, isn't it? And that, well, they say confession is good for the soul. In this case, I would say, yeah, if you could divest your soul of its link to that particular guy and all of his group, they're really negative, you know? Like, they really don't have good things to say about people, and they, almost to a man, lack the capacity to laugh at themselves, which I feel like that those are dangerous people. I mean, I feel like people that have that quality are people like fascists and dictators, like the thinnest skinned people in the world. But man, they'll treat you like bloody hell, torture you and starve you and do all kinds of bad stuff to you, and then tell you a bunch of baloney at the same time. Okay, now I'm just babbling. Okay, so the last one of these is chiastolite. I know it's not chiastolite, so it must be chiastolite. Looks sort of like, I don't know if you've ever seen an iron pyrite crystal, but they sort of look like that. Crystal in shape, that bar shape. Look at it, it made an asterisk, all of the crystal bars in there. You can see all of the frontal ones are like making the shape of an asterisk. Huh. So, okay, that might mean something. Oh, wow, it's on something. Something brown. It almost looks like the hammerhead that you smacked into something that, like, torqued the metal out like that, but I don't think it's a hammer. I don't know what that is. Look at that. I don't know what that is. Anyway, the subtitle on this is Unwavering Tenacity. Temper us in fire, and we grow stronger. We suffer. When we suffer, we survive. Okay, so interesting. What was I just talking about? You know, the people going through the thing that is misfortune and going back for more. And then the rest of us that have had to go along with kind of involuntarily, much against our wishes. Well, I mean, one thing, okay, so we have to, like, nut up for this. And like I was saying before, the previous administration, before in other videos, before, the previous administration, and really just all of the sort of Bushes before that and things, that, and Reagan's, if you were around for all of that, you've got to be a tough old nut by now after all of that abuse. And yes, I'm sorry, a lot of it felt like abuse. If you don't share that, good on you. So, temperance and fire, and we grow stronger. When we suffer, we survive. So we've been tempered, we've been through fire, so we know we can do it, you know. We're like we're like the stone that's been crushed into something beautiful, you know, by pressure, and heat too, I imagine, would take place. And things have gotten heated. We've become heated, and it's taken a lot of us to stay calm, to sort of maintain what balance there is. Because if you let one side go crazy, sort of, and it doesn't get enough extra oxygen and kindling and whatever, it doesn't, if we don't give any more to it, it can burn out. And mostly that's what things have done with, like, well, I guess the whole situation, I don't really even want to point out or try to point out one singular event, but there is a general feeling, would you not agree? An undefinable kind of feeling. Turbulent, not necessarily all hostile. That's definitely there. Kitty, you're just gonna have to wait, man. Oh, hell. Let's go let this little shit out. Here. I don't want you doing that. Go outside. Here. Come on, I don't want to wait all day. Thank you. Sorry. It was really distracting with him meowing. He's mad because I don't have the kind of food he wants, but we can't always have what we want, can we? So, anyway, now that he interrupted me out of what the hell I was saying, which I was trying to avoid, I know it was about surviving the coming years. And, you know, by the way, this is the last time Trump's going to be able to trouble us in this way. He's old and he's not in good health, so that's either going to become a problem and make it hard for him to continue on the way he has in the past. I don't see him getting a third presidency, so if you thought that's where I was going, perish the thought. No way. I'm not sure how long he's even going to... I have been hoping that things just get so messed up and weird with his people on the way in that somehow he gets stopped. I don't know the mechanism for that, but I know I'm not the only one that feels that way, and I've heard some things from people that either have access to inside knowledge or are psychic, and there's not a... and this is not great, but it's not a single notion about what's happening. A few people are like, yeah, it's there are people like behind the scenes in the current administration, the Biden administration, that are looking at like things in the 14th Amendment, which I believe says that if you've been part of an insurrection, you can't serve in the government. Well, I don't know why it's just not, okay, that's it, he's out. It should be that, but for some reason, things are so disjointed anymore, where like the right is trying damn hard to make things that were illegal not illegal when it comes to them. Like, nope. Sorry. Keep wishing, because I don't think that's gonna happen. They always screw so many people. Like, you're not gonna get away with stuff. You're gonna piss people off, and then everybody's gonna come get you. So, when we suffer, we survive. And then, I mean, who knows what could happen with that? I've heard, like I said, a few different things are, I guess, being discussed. And I don't feel like I think we're gonna have to go through some Trump stuff. Like, I always felt that, unfortunately. Like, once the election was decided, I was like, man. But before actually the election was decided, before the election was decided, I did not think he was gonna win. And then things turned, and then I was like, oh shoot. But still hoping that, as like illegal as he tends to be and his people, that something would disallow them. Or here's my option: whatever that thing was that wasn't allowing him to be able to speak clearly, I was hoping that would get so bad that he just couldn't make sense and was just disqualified by that. Have you noticed lately he hasn't been doing that? I'm discouraged. I mean, I'm not like wishing him bad. He already has whatever he's got. I just am dismayed that the progression seems to have stopped. Like, I don't think that I'm sending him off to die with whatever that is. He's already on his way out. He's that old. But anyway, he's gonna make some of us suffer. Some people will enjoy it, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like I just don't have a sense, really. I haven't really been trying to sense like what people are feeling and thinking about this. As far as the people who were his supporters or have voted for him, that will come out. All I know is the headlines are still funny every day. So the last card that I pulled for these is aventurine. And it's this stone with all of the windows, which always reminds me of the tarot card, the Seven of Cups, which is, well, on that card, it's like a person faced with all these cups, so it's choices. These are choices too, and I feel like there are choices for our future, like depending on which window we choose to go through or look out or make our choice of is gonna affect the way things eventually turn out. The subtitle for this card is Fortune. Chance is the first step you take. Luck is what comes afterward. Oh, there's like an eyebrow on here. Anyway, I think we could think of it as going badly, but we don't have to. I mean, definitely you can set the tone for your day and for your life. So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you make your luck in this case. You can be depressed and let it go all bad, but you can also look for every kind of way, if not to make that better, while they're over there in the government getting all upset and fighting each other and maybe shutting down, maybe not shutting down, and taking this away and not taking that away and cutting this and cutting that and arguing about it. Let them go. Because you know what? There's a whole other world that functions outside of that. And we can, all of us unelected and unappointed people in any kind of government situation, have the opportunity to band together and, you know, in the same way that you would go to a farmer's market, you're going to find a vendor who you didn't know, and they didn't know you, but they came in with what they have to a central meeting place, a place where people were converging to socialize, pick up groceries. Like, we have those. So we can expand upon the idea too, you know. Like, I was watching a person on YouTube talking earlier, and they went into like the homeless situation for a little bit, and what was I going to say that he said? He said something good. It just floated right out of my mind. Well, what I was saying is that there is a lot we can do. Like, I've shared that Just Nate guy. There's another guy named Peter Bond in New York, kind of does the same thing. There's a few people out there doing that thing, like gifting the homeless with what they need or money. I like this Just Nate guy because he doesn't ask them to perform some sort of trick or answer a question to get help. Like, there's one guy that's like, here's an envelope, you can choose it or not, it might have whatever in it or not, and the people are like, like, why would you do that? If you want to help them, why go up and go, hey, this envelope either has a check in it or a snake in it, do you want it? Why not just give it to them if you really want to help them? Like, that guy is kind of an a-hole, I think. And then Peter Bond is very sweet, actually, but he does, like, ask people to, like, tell him what their worst day was or something like that. It's been a while since I watched him, but... Or he'll do this thing, and this I really don't like. I mean, maybe it was cute the first couple of times, but now I'm just like, okay, lay off that and just give him the money. He'll go up and go, oh yeah, in his Crocs or his like $120 sneakers, and like, he's obviously not hurting himself. You can see from his apparel, and I've watched a lot of his videos, and he has nice apparel throughout, and so... And I know what he's doing. You'll hear. He'll walk up to someone homeless and go, yeah, I'm stuck here in Philadelphia. He's on the East Coast. And, or Philly, and I need to get back to New York because it's my daughter's whatever, and I only have $1, or I'm short $1. Whatever it is, he'll have some need, and he'll have a sob story. And the homeless person almost always will say, yeah, man, hold on, and like search through themselves and give them every little bit of change, feather, button, paper, whatever they got, you know. They're like, here, man, and he'll go, Bond will ask them, why'd you do that? Why'd you give it to me? Because, man, I mean, I would want someone to do that for me. I mean, that's almost always what they say. And so I feel like, don't put them through that. That's wiener. Just give them the money. Or if you want to know, like, just start talking to them and say, like, what Nate does is, like, he'll ask them how they're doing, what they're up to, how did they end up there, which Bond also does. But he'll just say, if you had $100 today, what would you do with it? And they'll say, well, I get some food, I get some shoes, I get some pants. And you go, okay, I'll go get that for you. And then he just does it. He doesn't ask him to perform a trick or ask a question or, you know, like, there's a way to do it that even the guy Bond, like, is helping. He does that thing where it's like he's testing them. It's like, bro, they're tested. They live outside. What is wrong with you? But that's just me. Wow, I really went off on them, huh? So here is, I pulled 2 cards from the Sacred Soul Messages, and I stopped at 2, and you'll soon see why. The first one is this here, big old heart and little, look, it's either got baby hearts or it's sweating hearts or something. There's a lot of heart action going on there. And the card reads, your heart is an ocean. Your heart is an ocean. Find yourself in its hidden depths. Life journey, finding purpose, true love. So I don't think that is referring to romantic love, even though there's little baby hearts all over the place. I think it's more like that emoji on your phone that's like the little yellow happy face with all of the hearts uh, draped all over it and drenching it, entrenching it. No, not trenching. Anyway, it's got hearts all over it. So there's a saying in the metaphysical community that says that you're a drop in an ocean and you're part of the larger thing. This, find yourself in its hidden depths. This was making me think of Mary a lot, Magdalene, because, well, that's just been on my mind because of the confession thing. I was kind of unsure after I saw it, and then I didn't really write anything yet, but I did like talk to this person online, which involved some writing. So I did write a little bit of stuff about it, and when I got through with that conversation, I went and started looking at something else, and it was about the Gospel of Mary. The it's not included, so in the doctrine, in the canon, it's not in the Bible. But what I really liked about it, and it made me feel like more sure about the subject of how the confessional in today's church and today's church could be born of something that used to be a thing in ancient times that I described. And so those are the times that Mary would have been walking around that I was talking about. And the thing about Mary is she got given a bad sort of reputation by, I'm sure, men that wrote the Bible. But I had this insight that they were like mad because she was a disciple, that Jesus treated her as an equal to them and himself. But I think it offended them more that she was equal to them and that she got such special treatment from him. But I think there was a love element of a different type involved there. It wasn't the love of brotherhood and camaraderie. I think there was romantic love there. And she was another one of his disciples, although you won't see her described that way. Well, not in the Bible. So, but outside of that, like, theologians are more sort of flexible with this kind of stuff. Like, they will know about it because that's what they do. They study it. Religion and Christianity and that kind of business. So what made me feel good when I read through the Mary Gospel, though, Gospel of Mary, whatever, was her point of view on evil and the devil. And I was pleasantly surprised to find that it pretty much mirrors mine, which no one told me. It just feels right that it's a spirit thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's like when you're evil, and even if you become possessed by it, it's not necessarily the guy with the horns and the pitchfork. It's something inside of you that is your shadow side, basically. So, it's always under your control, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But to understand that is kind of beyond what the Bible will let you believe, or popular culture even will. And I talked about this in my last video, is I learned that even if you see a being that corresponds with your image of what the devil is or a demon is, there's no such thing as those. But what there are is entities like the Sterling actually calls that the trickster entity, and they'll just they like to scare you, they like to play, they know this what we're living is not a real thing, so this just sort of like their contribution. And I would include them in the birth plan as well, because it's something that happens in your life when you come across like a supernatural being like that or something. So it's part of your life, they're part of it too, because this is like something that I don't understand, like really religious people that flip out at like Harry Potter and drag queens or gay people, or whatever the deviant thing they think is deviant. God made it, right? Didn't God make everything? God's the creator of everything, of all. So you can't be like separating things out and going, well, this but not that, because who are you to do that? You're not the designer. You didn't make stuff. So I just think like you can't be pick knitting. You can't be pick knitting God's choices if you're going to be all religious. I think we call that hypocritical. I think we call that hypocrisy. But something else the metaphysical say is that you're a drop in the ocean. You're part of a greater whole, and you're not indistinguishable in the greater whole where the drop disappears into the rest of the ocean. It's like the Borg. You're God, what is the thing they say? I can't remember. Your special something or other. Your individuality will be absorbed into the Borg. What now? What? Come on, I know this. Come on, it's right there. I keep almost saying it. Consciousness, continuity. Okay, yeah, the Borg continuity. You just absorb in, but you do become like a specialized part, like in that whole massive blend of beings, like a drop in the ocean. And then the other card I pulled, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop, which is another way of saying what I just said. Maybe they said it better. Shut up. Stand out. You kind of have to under those circumstances. Perspective brings things together. Well, ain't that the truth? I mean, just think about like when you're like a toddler, and how everybody and everything in the world is so much bigger than you, and how different things look when you get taller and are able to see things from a different angle. The people are going to be kind of problematic with that because we age and that makes us look different. But if we're talking about furniture or a carpet or like something on the door frame that you never saw before because your face wasn't right there at that angle, you could only see it from this way, so you couldn't see what was happening that way. That's very nonsense. A nonsense way to kind of try and describe that. But when you see something from a new perspective, it changes the way that you were thinking about what you saw. I believe is the point of this. I just thought it was funny that I got this ocean that you're both in and not in. But I kind of covered it. So, the Mary thing that I said about to the person, I have not heard back from them. I saw that they read it. They have not answered. I did explain, it's an exploration of the subject. It doesn't change things either way. And I also knew that when it came to this stuff, that person and I were very likely to have a difference of opinion in a lot of ways, because I think about those things I talked about very differently than they do, I think. But I don't think they're not open to stuff, learning things from a different perspective. I don't think that's the case at all. So that makes me happy. Did I even make any sense? Now I'm not sure. Oh, I did get a point across that the cross I wanted to make. Boy, I had to talk about Trump not being able to talk. Now my language is going all messed up. Just for a moment, not really. But the confessional thing that possibly was something else way back when, I want to like revert to that if we possibly can, because the church's way of doing things has always had, it's just been a mixed bag. It's been some good, it's been some really terrible, it's been some they like World War II. Oh my gosh, they behaved very badly, the church. They didn't say anything about a bunch of people getting slaughtered. And those are God. Like I said, God made everything, including the Jews. Okay, now, now that I've made my judgment, thank you and good night. Where is it?